Alright, welcome everybody to round 6 of the Trackstars TS2 Touring Cars. As always, we are at the same track, the TS3. We're at the lovely, very fast, high-speed ring in Japan. So it's a really nice, spectacular looking track. And as always, joined with me in the combox is the not so mashed potato and Spud B666.
Yes, thank you for that warm reception there, DJ. Obviously, luckily you fixed up your English before the coverage here, so you didn't have to mumble your words. But yeah, we are here live. Another race, another series, TS2 Touring Cars, round 6. We've got 16 drivers here this evening. We're going to have a very, very fast-paced action race this later on after the end of qualifying. Can't wait to see who it is, but unfortunately, it's racing, Jarman. No wet tyres for you, son. If you go out on wets, good luck on the start.
Yeah, I just messaged him and I go, you're planning on going swimming with those rubbers on?
Yeah, that's funny. But now we've got ourselves a really good competitive field here tonight, DJ. Obviously, we've got a couple of new entrants in the main split. Obviously, it's been run on a Saturday, unlike its normal format on a Sunday, so we are missing a few off the top drivers, or more of the top drivers in the standings, like Rugworth and Vossi and a few others as well that are, and Captain Muffin as well. Actually, I did miss his name there. That he's actually one of the contenders and a double race winner last time out at Red Bull Ring is not here this evening.
Yeah, we don't have Captain Muffin, unfortunately. We don't have Rugworth either. No Vossi. Ando as well. He must possibly gone off to do some work. But we would have had a first-time entrant in the races in Sirik. So we haven't seen Sirik in a while, but unfortunately it didn't confirm fast enough or early enough. And yeah, I guess it was a bit unfortunate, but I nearly forgot that I'm running the qualifying, so
that's all good. But yeah, no, but like you said, we do have a few new entrants this evening. We have Mad Dog 007. He is part of the WTCC entrant. He's the second Lexus driver from WTCC, so alongside Aussie Hypnotic and Slapper's Mate and Griffo. So WTCC putting on a very good showing, especially in the TS2 grid. And also we have the debuting Isa Benjo in the top split of the TS2 race. So it'll be very good. See how he goes this evening. A new paint scheme, new colour scheme, thanks to his picking up a new sponsor for his team. So good to see them sign on para to jump on board for the Ice Group Racing team, and hopefully he can deliver some good results for the Ice Group Racing number 27. So we'll wait and see how he goes to the end of qualifying. We'll keep an eye on his pace. But DJ, we've seen some of these drivers go through the second part or the first part of main series qualifying. Who have you got your money on to take pole position this afternoon?
Well, just from practice, I do think that the Honda's a little bit disadvantaged around here compared to the likes of obviously the Nissan and the Lexus. But I got to stick with the team boss. It's going to be either it's racing or John. It's either the teammate or the team boss. It's one or the other. I can't be doing that, especially since it's is in my car for this weekend. So I got to put the monopoly money on it and see how he goes. So fingers crossed he can get that car pretty hooked up, but looks like he got a bit of damage there into two there, which is a bit unfortunate. But if he can't do the job, hopefully John will. But yeah, it'll be really exciting considering we've got a range of different cars in the field tonight.
Absolutely, we've got a range of drivers here that'll also be backing up their TS2 duties into the main series tomorrow for the high-speed ring 500. So we've got the top three in John, Itz and Rusty, and actually top four rather, with Budsy 76 also filling in for the main series. Lunacy just missed out on a drive from Satellite Racing, so he's just going to be sticking it out with TS2. Robbo Sport, unfortunately, as the team boss, is just going to be running things on the sideline, so we can't wait to see what the Robbo Sport guys can do. A little bit off the pace in the qualifying sessions, just down low, just hanging on into the top 10. And we also have Silo 96 as well, who actually didn't show up for qualifying. So in the big news, in the Touring Cars Championship is that the car 45 will be starting rear of the grid.
Yeah, I did notice that. I thought I saw him turn up the quali, but I must have missed it. But yeah, that's some big news considering he'll be running. I do believe Ratty is sitting third in the championship, possibly fourth, depending on how he went. But I'm pretty sure it's third. Granted, that Speedy didn't come to the last round, so yeah, it's some big news there. But you know, it's 500 k's. It's a long race, so it's going to be a very interesting one, especially considering there wasn't any drivers that turned up for that 45 car in the Friday qualifying. We're getting really close here to Warpath, so.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the number 45 does with the driver entry. Whether Ratty's going to start ahead and he maybe just try and pull a gap and try and claw up as many positions as possible, or whether he sticks it out with Zion, giving him full confidence. But so far on pole position for this 17-lap race here for the TS2 touring cars is John 27 TCT. Very blistering lap there, so not the fastest. Obviously, these guys are a little bit slower than the what do we call it, the TS3 touring cars. So with the higher downforce that these cars are producing, they're not really getting the same speeds as what the 2008 model cars are getting.
Yeah, believe it or not, you can't actually get a lap the same time as a TS3. Like I think because of the higher aero package, they don't allow you to go down the street at such higher speeds, even in a slip. So I think the fastest I saw here was a 1027 from Slappers, who's actually also doubling up in the in main series as well as Aussie Hypnotic. So we've got a couple of TS2 drivers that aren't assigned or in relation to any main series teams. They're actually having some main series drives this weekend, which is good to see. So nice to see a lot of fellow teams helping out others, and also giving the TS2 inexperienced drivers as such a bit of a better understanding to what the main series cars are, because I know you as well as myself, we can both guarantee that they are definitely a bit of a weapon. They do have about 40 more horsepower than these things, as well as a big fat RPM turbo underneath the bonnet, so it's definitely going to be a bit interesting.
Absolutely, and obviously we will see the debuting Aussie Hypnotic actually making his main series debut in the High Speed Ring 500, racing in the newly promoted WRT War Paint Racing team in Honda NSX. So that'll be brand new. That'll be exciting as Slappers comes through and punches out a 1:03 on his last lap. So whether he just crossed the line as he punched the lap, we'll wait and see. But as we see, as like I said, so we've got the newly promoted WRT Racing in the main series, especially picking up drivers such as Aussie Hypnotic in the car 151, partnering alongside Oz Soul Reaper. And then we have the, as you said at the beginning of the coverage, the late Cyric filling in for the 964, where unfortunately we won't be seeing a driver. So I did see Budsy76 climb up through the field there, and that was thanks to a really good benefit of the tow there from Lunacy. So with the tow from Lunacy, that really promoted him up into second place, and he'll be really chuffed with that. He had a very good qualifying 2 race as well, qualifying session as well. So he'll be one to keep an eye on. Obviously, just trying to learn the ropes around this track. Didn't really have much practice throughout the week, but once he got his head down, he put himself a really good time with a 57.2 in the main series car. So starting P2 at the moment. We'll wait as the drivers cross the finish line. So far looking good for him, but nobody's going to be able to touch John DJ starting pole position. Aussie Hypnotic in third, so it's going to be a good race, this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race. All drivers cross the line. We have someone driving backwards. I bet it's John. Let me see if I can find it. No, it's Aussie Hypnotic. That'd be definitely an Aussie Hypnotic thing to do, but luckily it's not in the race, because I'm pretty sure that wouldn't go down well, as we've had. History has it, you do get disqualified for driving backwards, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting one here, because by the looks of it, it's what's this? Nissan, Lexus, Lexus, Honda. First race is yeah, 7th.
First driver is in 7th. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So it will be really trying to benefit from a tow, and maybe would you think drivers will want to work together, like especially down the straight, do some bump drafting, kind of like what we saw in Daytona, or do you think drivers will make a move going into turns 1 and 2?
I don't know. I haven't driven these cars in a slip. I don't know how they're going to handle, but going off what TS3 had, I'd say I'd just kind of stick in behind and run that high line and see if we go through there. But we actually have some It's Racing drivers in the chat. We've got Brian, and we also have Brandosa, who unfortunately had some family emergency and he had to zip up to Queensland, so he won't be in the 34. And the 34 is actually going to be, obviously, unfortunately, kept under the covers this weekend. So that will probably be kept as a spare chassis, just in case one of us hits ours off tonight in the top 6 or something happens tomorrow. But until then, we go racing for race 1 of the TS2 Championship.
So 4 grid, 15 drivers here for TS2 race 1 here at high speed ring for the high speed sprint. We've got John and Budsy on the front row, so he'll take out the lights out. It is lights out, green flag racing. John's got himself a really good start. He's already put at least 4 car lanes on Budsy 76, and he's pulling that gap a fair bit, but we're going to watch out for this slipstream, DJ. It's all about going to be that move to turn 1. Who's going to get that advantage? As we look back towards the field, we probably might see some carnage, but we'll wait and see. With John leading the way, Budsy 7th, 2nd, and Slapper's mate 117 in 3rd place as they negotiate turn 2. Whoa, so much lag coming through there. I just don't even know what's going on. But Rusty's taking the high line, and he's up into 7th, now into 6th place. So very good move there from Rusty Nut 75 in the Robo Sport Racing Camp.
Yeah, there's some chronic amount of lag here. We may have to change hosts. This is very sketchy for these drivers going through the corners, which we kind of experienced a little bit at Daytona. So the lobbies still aren't up to scratch, but we're just trying as best we can. But so far, not too bad. And It's Racing here looks to be the biggest mover off the start at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely moved up from 7th to 3rd, so he's doing a really good job. Really benefiting from a tow from Budsy 76. Is he going to help him out? I think he's just pulled out. And he's going to go side by side. He'll take that inside line. And as we saw in TS3, DJ, that inside line going into turn 2 really benefits. But unfortunately, I think for that Honda, it is a little bit too heavy, and it might be lacking compared to the Lexus. But he's actually gone through, and he's actually gone into 2nd place. I don't think Buds is going to think about making a move going into turn 2, because as we saw, the inside line is not the best line. My goodness, that amount of lag there is incredible. I don't even know who's crashing into the wall, who's wall riding. It's very hard to predict.
I think Aussie Slappers got rear-ended by Xylon. Robbo goes around.
Oh, Robbo's goes around. Unlucky for him. He's doing well to get into the top 10 very comfortably there. And as we see Warpath, so something's happened to Warpath on his lap, and he's all the way down the rear of the field as we see some drivers. Xylon 96 has come through. He's got picked up engine damage. So something has happened to Xylon. A very good performance in race 2 at Red Bull Ring, but unfortunately not really confident with his car in TS2, and we'll have to wait and see what he can do in the main series tomorrow afternoon. But so far, no one's been able to touch John. He's really pulling away. It's Racing in 2nd, Budsy in 3rd, Aussie Hypnotic and Slappers rounding up at WTCC 4th and 5th. Isuzu Brian's coming through into 6th, Rusty Nuts in 7th, and Lunacy in the top 8. So drivers are coming through. They're starting to ease up a little bit. They're trying to find their positions, find their groove. It is a very long race as we see chronic lag. It looked like just Lunacy just went through Rusty Nuts to gain that position. That's a different interesting move as well.
Yeah, it looks like the lag just sent him through Rusty, like not even around or to the left. It just looks like it was straight through. So maybe we might need a bit of a change host after this race. But yeah, this is not ideal. But yeah, at the moment, drivers are looking pretty well compared to others. Obviously, a bit unlucky here for Xylon, copping that engine damage. He's really not having the best run in TS2.
No, he's not. He's definitely said to me he's not really. He's trying his best to try and accommodate the lag and the driving around him. So, but it's unfortunate getting caught up at the wrong place, wrong time. So, I think I just said to him, look, we'll just do the TS2 for a bit of fun. But when it comes to the main series tomorrow and for the 1000 and St. Croix 1500, that's where we want you to be at your maximum. But hanging around in 14th, and unfortunately, this race will be over, and he'll want this race to be over and done with as quickly as possible. But as we see, Buzzy's actually moved up, and we've lost It's Racing here. He's down into 5th place. So I wonder, DJ, with the Honda being really heavy, as we see Isuzu Brian, nearly catching a drift there. Didn't save it. It takes out Griffo Tony in the meantime with that. But I was going to say with the Honda, being the very heavy car compared to the Nissan and the Lexus, I think that's maybe, it may have hurted him down going into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, I know just from testing by yourself, the car is really, really underpowered compared to the other two in the BOP setting, where obviously in main series is a lot different because we have the custom bot. But yeah, I think maybe it just needs to get on the back of another car and just hang in that slip there, maybe pass him into turn 1. But ideally, if it was me, I'd just kind of hang in behind and just try not to get overtaken by too many cars. But I guess...
Well, he's about to use the high line right now compared to Lunacy's inside liner. He's going to take that position very comfortably. Takes 5th place away from Lunacy. So like we saw in TS3, the low line doesn't work when it comes to an overtake. But we've got the WTCC boys and Slappers and Aussie Hypnotic really pressuring Budsy 76. So actually, Budsy 76 also did race in the WTCC Touring Cars Championship that they used to run on GT Sports. So a bit of a long rival history amongst those 3 drivers there. So a bit of friendly fire amongst those 3, but they're still not able to catch up to John. John's really starting to extend that gap and making that Nissan work. He's just keeping it on the right track. I think as well, when you have a driver like John especially just really in a groove, in a zone, and he's done his qualifying in the Honda, I wonder if that's giving him a little bit more confidence finding the lines that he needs in his Nissan.
John is John is an awesome team. Like as much crap as I do give him, we do give it to each other. we do give it to each other. He's actually a very solid teammate, and I know that like anyone here in the It's Racing camp can vouch for that. And we do have Brando in the comments. John carrying my butt for the touring cars coming in clutch. He is, so he's doing a very solid job there, and I know that him and It's Racing are going to be a killer partnership in the main series. But yeah, I think he's doing a solid job here in TS2, and the standings are really showing for that. We know he is in the Nissan. He's not really following the It's Racing, everyone in Hondas, but yeah, we thought we'd spice it up a bit, give him a bit of a wild card and see how we go. But Budsy's dropped position here. Now he's got Aussie Hypnotic counting the back of him, so maybe he's made a bit of a mistake there through 4 and 5, and really kind of hindered his lap.
Yeah, I think that's where you would see a lot of common mistakes there. You really want to push the car to its limit, but through 4 and 5, you really can push the car to its limits, but then it's not going to really benefit you whatsoever. As we see Rusty Nuts move himself up into 5th place using that slipstream very effectively on It's Racing. So it's a little bit of a chop and change with grid positions, or with the current positions at the moment, DJ, because we don't really know who's going to be where. Obviously, we kind of see John 27 comfortably in the lead there, but all things can change, and we just see that mid-pack there, the battle for second. It's even raging all the way back towards Lunacy, because Lunacy's gapped Isuzu Brian by 7 seconds between him and Isuzu Brian, so that's the next pack that you'll want to keep an eye on to see who's actually able to get that 8th place.
Yeah, I think Brian's kind of a bit of running his own race here at the moment. So a bit unfortunate to see him drop out, but Robbo's 3.5 back from him, Griffo's 2.6 back. Zolon's moved back up into 11th, and then we got Devlin from the Ice Racing Group, Benjo also from Ice Racing Group on the back of him, Mad Dog and Warpath repping the sole WTCC car at the moment due to Gordok being over in Europe. So as we know, Gordok did get promoted into TS2 due to trying to be a reserve for WLT in main series, so definitely be good to wait and see what he can do. But so far, Warpath is repping that WRT pretty strongly, being the what would be team owner. So it's good to see him out there.
Yeah, it's very good to see Warpath out there in the main grid in TS2. So he's not having a really. He's come in very late. He had a bit of a surgery earlier in the season, just ruling him out in a few races in the Formula 2 series. But now he's back better than ever, and he's going to be working really hard with himself and Gordok 69 to try and get themselves a confirmed spot to be a reserve driver for their team. But at the moment, sitting in 15th, he'll probably want to make sure he has a better qualifying for race 2, as these drivers are about to start lap 9 of 17. There's not much action going on at the moment. I think everything's quite spread out, even amongst the top 3. They're quite spread out. The next battle pack is between Rusty and It's Racing, so the battle for 5th. They're not really making any moves towards Budsy and Aussie Hypnotic, because I think the gaps are quite stale at the moment. So it's going to be very interesting to see what these cars can do and how they respond to each other, especially as the fuel tank goes down and as the tyres start to get worn out a bit more.
Yeah, I just had a quick flick between It's Racing and Rusty there. While It's was in the slipstream, it was doing about 299. Rusty was obviously making a gap in the air for him. He was also doing 299. So I do think that extra weight from the Honda is definitely its downfall. So it's a bit hard to counter that in obviously BOP, but you know, I guess we'd kind of just go with the flow. But what I'm noticing here as well, the top 6 drivers are all co-drivers for this weekend. So maybe this might be a bit of a power play for these 6 drivers. You know, saying, look at us, we're practicing for the main series and we're all up the front. So, and we've even got Lunacy here, who's also a reserve driver for Satellite. So, in the odd case that either Risky or Danny Racing can't get there, they obviously will have Lunacy step up to the plate. But yeah, I think really you show your specs in main series and kind of run with them and see how they go. You definitely make you a bit stronger here for TS2.
Exactly. So it's very hard to see. It's very interesting to see. Like I've just noticed there on those racing lines there amongst some of the drivers there. You can definitely see when you take that inside line going to turn 1, it gives you a really good advantage of being able to make that move stick and pull out in front to take turn 2. But as I say that, this battle pack is really closing up between Budsy. So Budsy's losing a little bit of pace compared to the WTCC boys and Slappers and Aussie. So he's losing a little bit of time amongst those drivers, and It's Racing again. He's going to use that inside line. He'll use that inside line to try and pull away and clear Budsy before turn 2. And as we've seen that in all categories and all passes in TS2 and TS3, it's going to be really important for him to make that move. And as we say that, he's made the move and looks like Rusty's going to join him. They're going to make it 3 wide. No. They're going to go into turn 3, no, turn 2. Going to go through the inside. Oh, a bit of contact made between It's Racing and Budsy, and there's a little bit of sustained damage there from Budsy 76 there. So I don't know whether he got himself into the wall a little bit between him and It's Racing. Oh, as we see that, It's Racing nearly goes around and contact's been made. Lunacy is losing positions left, right, and front. So there's a raging battle pack amongst the top 4 of the battle for 4th place. With now we see Rusty Nuts prevailing and moving himself up into 4th place with It's Racing tucked in behind and Budsy 76 in 6th place.
Yeah, Lunacy was a real benefit out of that, them trying to go 3-1 into turn 2. He actually got up to 5th, but from what I can see, Rusty made a bit of a snap oversteer while It's was on his outside, and then Lunacy kind of really got the short end of that straw. So it's a bit unfortunate there for Lunacy, but I guess, you're running that close with each other, something's going to happen. But yeah, I think they're doing a pretty solid job here, but this lag is obviously one that they're probably not used to either, because we did see it back at Daytona with the ovals and stuff like that. So a bit unfortunate, but I guess that's racing, that's GT7 at its finest.
Absolutely, yeah. A bit unfortunate just to have lag ruin it all, as we saw in GT Sport back in 2020 and 2021 when we started to broadcast the Touring Cars and Formula Championship on YouTube. We saw some really close battles and good racing and hardly any lag whatsoever. If we knew someone was lagging, then we kind of called them out straight away, but it's very hard to call out who's actually the laggier driver compared to the rest of the field there. It might be just a network stability, network connections that these guys have. But It's Racing's really pulled out. So I don't know about you, DJ, but obviously I don't know whether you found out where the strengths or weaknesses are in the Honda, but obviously you being in the Honda, have you noticed like the strengths of the Hondas really being that the S-bends towards the back end of the track into the tunnel?
I'd like to say yes and no. I think it kind of prevails through 2, 3, and 4, but then down the straight it kind of has a bit of what you call it, suckiness as such. So we've really had to tune around that kind of top speed, top end. It's really kind of been an issue at the moment so far for the whole season, but we're tuning around it and it's working so far. So, and the qualifying results I think really show that the fast drivers are kind of getting on top of their cars and really understanding how they're going, because at the moment, obviously running through the standings for that, obviously the qualifying, you've got, it was myself, Rocky, and Speedy top 3 on Thursday, and then Matt, Risky, and It's Racing in 3rd, and then Woodsy in 4th on Friday. So the cars that are kind of essentially leading the championship are the ones that are up the front. So I think maybe the cars down the back of the grid, they haven't got their head around them yet on how they're handling. So it's a bit hard to go and compare your MR to your FR, because I don't know how you are, but you're kind of considerably faster through Sector 1 than what I am, and then I'm gaining it through 2 and 3. So, it's a bit hard to gauge on how they are, but yeah, I guess that's racing and
yeah, and it is
stuff.
pretty close. Yeah, it is very close. Obviously, cars have their strengths and weaknesses, and I've definitely found out that the Hondas are very strong, especially through this section here. I always find out, always really try to find a tune to balance the car out to actually make it a little bit more slippery going into the S's, going through to the S bends. It's really hard to make it because the car is very heavy heavy dependent at the front. It doesn't really have that initial turn in that when you want it to turn the car in, it'll just kind of understeer it. So we always have it. So myself and my teammate are working really hard together, trying to find the balance. And so far, it's worked out pretty well. He's managed to pick up the victory at Monza, and we've had a few good podiums and a few good runs with the top drivers. So we found some pace, found some good performances in our Lexus car, and fingers crossed we might be able to take it to the front runners. But obviously the 45's got has a mammoth job to do, starting in 14th and last place, and whilst we are about to get our top 6 shootout underway in 2 hours time, DJ.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting end to the season, especially in TS2 as well. Obviously you got Johnny the Nissan, and then who's actually approaching the back of Warpath, so I'm wondering if John punches in some laps, he might catch him. I don't think he will, because there might be a bit too much, not enough laps. But I think it's good to see the cars, different brands of car have running their different strengths and weaknesses at each track. So we've seen a range of winners and a range of top performers. So it's definitely working well, and I think personally as well, just the drivers in their own confidence too. It's definitely making them feel a lot better. Because even Rusty's actually performing a lot better than what he was at the start of the year too.
Yeah, and that definitely, and it guaranteed him a spot in the Enduros as well. Obviously, putting in those consistency and good races to be able to get himself into the top 5 as he gets himself the purple sector at the end of Sector 1. So there's the strengths of the Nissan GTR in Sector 1. This is where the drivers will be feeling it a fair bit with that dirty air kicking in. Also, at the back of their minds, they have Budsy and Lunacy battling for 6th place. But yeah, we can see Rusty has definitely improved. He improved himself. We saw it a lot in the formulas where he was really strong in the SF19s, but in the touring cars, he's just as equal, or if not, probably just a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think you as well as myself, we definitely thrive on seeing drivers outperform themselves compared to what they were or what they're kind of capable of. Even Slappers here, Aussie as well. So I think, I don't know about you, but would maybe teaming up with some main drivers be helping these guys in their own, say, confidence levels?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely think I guess in a way, we know Slappers and Aussie, like you and I, we both know them, that they both run their own races, and they're always heavily invested in joining other leagues and improving themselves as drivers rather than doing their own league racing just to get themselves a little bit of a head start before they start their GT7 league next year in 2023. But it definitely helps them with the confidence, and now they're going to be in 2 great organisations with Robo Sport and WRT. Can't wait to see what they do on Sunday. But for now, at the end of race 1, John 27 TCT hasn't been touched all race long. Takes the victory for race 1 for the high-speed sprint with Slappers mate 117 in 2nd, and Aussie Hypnotic rounding up the top 3. It's Racing holding on to 3rd place. A very solid job there for It's Racing to hold 4th, with Rusty Nuts in 5th, Lunacy in 6th, Budsy 76 in 7th, and Robbo Sports managed to pull himself through after a little bit of a slow first lap to be in 8th place. Griffo Tony holding on into 9th, and Silent making a recovery drive into the 10. As we see, Isuzu Brian, he actually looks like he dropped down a few positions as well, so we must have missed that towards the end there. And Devlin just holding off his teammate right behind. No, he gives his teammate the position. 12th place for Benjo, and Devlin in 13th. Mad Dog in 14th, and Warpath rounding up the rear. Not the great start that Warpath wanted, but coming across the finish line in 5th place. That's a bit of an interesting tactic the Ice Group Racing Team boys have done there with Benja and Devlin. But no one can stop John DJ. Obviously, he's the man in form. He's one of the fast drivers, fast qualifiers in the Daytona in the high speed ring 500, and he's just proved that with a victory in TS2.
Yeah, he's definitely on form. He's probably at the best of his form. I don't know how he was previously, but yeah, it's good to see my fellow teammate and co-driver doing well as the boss and even all the other drivers. So it's even I think just everyone in TS2. You know, we're seeing drivers that haven't really shown their face much in Formula 2 or anything like that. They're starting to kind of pop their face up and say, "Look at me, I'm capable of doing this." So it's definitely good to see the drivers doing well for themselves. But my question to you is, would Zylan be trying to hunt for a main series drive next year? That's the question.
It's gonna be. It is very interesting. I'm not with. Obviously, we've got a lot going on back at the MSR factory. Obviously, we had the announcement at the start of the year that my regular driver Ian Puntz unfortunately wasn't able to get access to the game, and let alone be able to have a stable PlayStation to run GT7, and he's had to forfeit his seat for season 2022. So we'll have to wait and see how this season goes with myself and Reddy, and whether Zylan will want to may promote himself up into the main series. He can just let me know. We will assess everything. But I definitely think he's capable of it. He's ready to go. He's done a few races in main series in the touring cars last year, as well as some Formula Track Stars this year as well. So I definitely think he's up for it. But we'll just have to wait and see. As we take a break, as we set ourselves a new lobby, ladies and gentlemen, we will bring Race 2 and live coverage for the Track Stars TS2 touring cars to you very shortly.
Alright, we're back. We've had a lobby reset, and I'm now the host. So fingers crossed the lag isn't as bad as it was in the last one. So, other than that,
Fingers,
yeah.
fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed. We wait and see what happens. But yeah, obviously we get ready for race 2. Can't wait to see what goes on. So whether we see John get himself another victory, another double victories, as he's been racking up a few of those, DJ. So it'll be interesting to see if you can wrap it up tonight with 2 victories that'll give him good confidence for the main race tomorrow.
Yeah, so fingers crossed as well, obviously. Pit exit open, 5 minutes qualifying. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting weekend, I think. Even not only like now, we've got the other Enduros coming up too. So it's going to be very interesting towards the end of the season, I think, for some of these drivers, depending on what they can do. Because yeah, it's going to be very interesting. We've got a bit of a roadblock going on here. Benjo's been a bit
I
of
was,
a...
I was going to say, it was so interesting. People exiting the pit lane, they're just going, you can go side by side onto the pit lane as we see, Benjo get himself a bit of a whack there from somebody, Suzu Brian. But no, it was just quite funny just seeing you can actually race yourselves on the exit of the pit lane, as we saw with some of those drivers there just going side by side. So an interesting tactic when it comes to pit stops, whether they might be able to take advantage of that, or maybe just ghost inside each other, and then one of them takes the inside line. That'll get them to run into turn 2, but we'll have to wait and see. But qualifying 2 is underway. It's racing and Warpath, the sole Honda drivers this evening, with unfortunately the likes of Captain Muffin not being able to show up this afternoon in the CP Motorsport entry. But we'll have to wait and see how those guys go for qualifying 2. I've got a fair flock of Nissans, DJs. Obviously, we know the Nissan's being the most popular car compared to the Lexus and the Honda.
Yeah, clearly it is. But honestly, if it was me, I'd just spice it up a bit, run a Lexus in TS2. Don't be like everyone else, Got to be different. But I think the Lexus and Nissan are pretty on par to each other. It's just really how the drivers can extract the speed from them. Brian, oh my lord.
Bit of racing going on between Brian and Aussie Hypnotic for qualifying 2. As Brian goes a little bit too deep going into the S-bend, and he just keeps the car on the track just, so he's able just to hold on. But Aussie's now got himself a clear track. Obviously, these two won't have some representative qualifying times. We might see a representative qualifying time from Devlin right behind. So, sole international in this weekend's TS2 group. Obviously, we've got ourselves another international with Danny Racing coming all the way from Malaysia. Going to be racing in the main series for the Enduros within the Satellite Racing Car 79, alongside Ridwan in the Nissan GTR. So we'll wait and see how he goes, as well as Devlin in the Ice Group Racing Lexus. So it'll be interesting to see how our internationals cope with the Aussie connection, whether they get some good network connections or not.
Yeah, Devlin usually seems to be pretty decent. Danny seemed pretty alright on Thursday, but some people may not know. Obviously, you haven't seen Danny around track stars before. He's actually the #1 ranked driver in Malaysia for Gran Turismo. So, pretty big name that Satellite have pulled there. I think Liam's done a bit of magic work and magic scouting and got him on board. So, we have some pretty stacked names for the main series Enduros. Obviously, the likes of Captain Risky, Matt as well, 2015 GT Academy champion. Last year you had John O'Stan. Unfortunately, he's not around with us this year. So it's going to be a very interesting one. But we'd like to see him full-time racing a bit more. But I guess they've got their own things to do. But having them on the grid is still well and good to have him there and joining us. So it's big honours for us.
I mean as well with Brocky 05, the CP driver, he's also done a few virtual world tours in 2010 during the lockdown. So we've seen him a few times on the world tour in the Oceania, racing alongside with some of the top names from Japan and Malaysia and even New Zealand as well, as we see John start to get himself into provisional pole positions. Zylan hanging on in second place, so it's just basically the same orders that we've had in race 1 and 2, with John getting the jump over Zylan 96, and I think with Zylan he will just want to back out a little bit because he doesn't want to be racing these guys, because obviously we've seen in the practice sessions or in the qualifying sessions, as we see, he just backs out of it as he wants to try and get himself a really good slipstream. But John's doing the work, the teamwork here, and he's going to help his teammate propel himself up the grid. And look at that, he's already up by 0.02 on his teammate.
Yeah, but he does have damage, so it might just propel him a little bit further up the grid. Maybe not for first, but we'll definitely wait and see where that may put him towards the end. But this battle pack here, it looks like they're racing, so it's a bit of an interesting one. But a name that we've got down the back here, we've got a Rusty Nuts in. Never mind, scratch that. He's jumped up to 8th, so it's a bit weird. Oh, Zolan's been bumped down to 5th, so. It's racing, see what he gets when he crosses the line. 103.4, so yeah, he was carrying a bit of damage there, but Lunacy's jumped up.
So Lunacy's so far using the slipstream very well to his advantage and forming onto the back of this two-man field train in front of him, so he's going to be using that very wisely. Can he get himself into another purple sector on this last section? Oh, there's a little bit of contact made with some of the drivers ahead. He's pulled out of it. He's not going to be able to improve anymore, so that's him done for qualifying. But we'll wait and see what these boys can do from the Ice Group Racing team, see if they can propel themselves up the front. Rusty Nuts, actually no, we'll cross back to It's Racing. Rather, to apologise, DJ, for all your camera work, but we'll cross back to It's Racing. He's getting himself right into the slipstream of John 27 TCT, so the two teammates really working with each other, but he's down. He's not going to be able to improve his time whatsoever unless he gets himself a really good slipstream down the back end. But obviously, so far, if John doesn't improve, we might have a new pole position this evening, and that will go to, if we wait and see for John's lap time, never mind. Okay, John will take back-to-back pole positions.
Yeah, he's really stretching some speed out of that Nissan. That's just incredible. There.
It's incredible. Yeah, his pace is incredible. I don't know how he does it, but he's done really well with the car. He's just in one when it comes to especially with the BOP, no tuning, and he loves that kind of stuff. So for him to have that, advantage, he came up to us and said, sign me up because there's no tuning. I don't like tuning, but he does it. I mean, he goes all right with the tuning. He goes all right. He's just not one with it, you could say.
Yeah, he's not exactly a fan of tuning. He's made that pretty clear during the week for us. So having Matt there helping him with the tuning, even myself, really, it's definitely helped him essentially. So it's gonna be a bit of an interesting one.
So we'll see a few names up the grid as well. There, Griffo Tony looks like, yeah, he's promoted himself into 7th place. So there's a nice qualifier from Griffo. Unfortunately, had engine damage in one of his laps in race 1. So being up in the top 8 is a very good achievement for him. But we see the drivers in Budsy and Cylon hanging around the top 6, so they'll be wanting to work together to try and push themselves through to the front. But again, who can stop John 27 TCT? DJ, well, could it be Lunacy? Could it be Aussie? I think Aussie and Slappers got themselves a really good jump off the start line in race 1, so we'll wait and see what those WTCC boys can do.
Oh, I'm host. My bad. Thanks, boys. Yeah, that'll be very interesting there. Sorry, that was a bit of a brain fart for me. Usually it's a host, but yeah, that's it's gonna be an interesting start, I think. And we're going to wait and see what happens with some of these cars and how much they can pull through the field. So
absolutely, and it will be the same starting for race 1 for the main series with a grid start. But as we leave that for tomorrow for the final race, the final time in the support category field, TS2 touring cars, race 2, John on pole, Lunacy in 2nd, Aussie in 3rd as we wait for those lights to go green and they're out. Lights out, green flag racing, Aussie boxed himself down, Slappers is going to come through and take that position away from him. He's got the two MSR cars in Budsy and Xylon working together to try and get slipstream from each other, but it looks like John is still pulling ahead and he's ahead of Lunacy. Will Lunacy try and go for an outside move on John 27 to try and get the high banking? Doesn't look like John's going to give him any favours, any quarter to try and make a move on the outside, but looking back through the fields, drivers want to be very careful amongst each other and not really take too many risks at the start of this race. As we see Cylon and It's Racing getting into a bit of contact there, but so far at the end of that turn 2, John is still leading the way.
Yeah, it looks like Lunacy's just bonked himself in behind and just going to go with it, but from what I can see, Aussie Hypnotic copped a bit of damage. I think a bit of lag through there. Like Lobby is better, but it's not the graders, but GT7 at its finest. But yeah, it's definitely better than what it was. But yeah, it's interesting to see some movers on the track so far.
Yeah, so we're seeing It's Racing moving himself up again. So he's the ones with the starts, DJ. He's the one that's getting the really good starts in his Honda NSX. Obviously, we've seen that a few times with the cars. That Honda is really strong on the race starts, and he's managed to take advantage of that and promoted himself up into 4th, 5th place. And unfortunately, we see Isa Benjo down in 15th. Obviously, may have had a bit of contact with a few drivers on the opening lap and just rounding up the 15 drives this evening, with John still leading the way. So I think he's definitely pulling himself a bit of a margin over Lunacy in 2nd place. Aussie Hypnotic is still holding on to 3rd with Budsy right on his tail. And it's going to be all up to the drivers to try and make sure they can negotiate these few corners until the track settles down, until they settle down in their aggression.
Yeah, the drivers are getting a bit more aggressive, but they are also still keeping it like probably about 90-95% clean. So there is that little 5% buffer there, but I guess that's racing. You know as well as I do. No one's perfect in racing, and everyone makes mistakes. So it's kind of a bit unfortunate, but yeah, all the drivers seem to have picked up their driving standards, which makes us a lot better and a lot more confident as a series. So it's definitely good to see, but unfortunate as well that we didn't have a split 2 this weekend. Maybe because it is a public holiday. So hopefully we.
Yeah, I'll definitely think it's one of them. And usually we're running on a Saturday or running on a Sunday rather than Saturday, so it also could have affected plans for all our drivers to not being able to race. As It's Racing looking to make a move, fakes left, fakes right, and plants that Honda. Oh, he's going to go for that move. He doesn't. He's going to hang it around the inside though. Maybe take the outside line or go for a bit of a switchback going into the tunnel. Let's see what car's more dominant in that section.
Nice
And the Honda seems to be very strong with that extra weight on the car, able to plant that power down a lot sooner than Budsy 76's Lexus RCF. But he's down to 5th. It's in 4th with an angry bunch of cars right behind Budsy.
Yeah, it looks like Budsy caught a bit of damage there as well, so he was carrying a bit of front error, which may have hindered him in that turn 4 ordeal. But these Lexuses compared to this Honda, even this Nissan, look at Slapper's fly. Slapper's in his slippers, mate. Look at him go. He's gonna, I think, dip down the bottom. No, he's just gonna stay out of it. So I think he's just gonna wait and see what happens here. But on a hard charging behind them, you got a Griffo Tony, and not far behind him, you got Rusty. So this pack is very close. Ooh, it gets a little bit of a bump there. No, good old laggy GT7 again. So it's a nice little battle pack going on here. Drivers keeping it clean, and not really causing anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're working really hard to try and, obviously, as we said, trying to fix up their driving standards. And looks like for a track, Slappers goes for a full opposite lock drift there, and he manages to hold that. But that's promoted Rusty Nuts out of nowhere to move up a position ahead of Griffo Tony. So Griffo lost out a lot in that move, as Slappers lost the tail end of his Nissan GTR. But Rusty's up into 8th. He's going to make his charge through. Bit of a poor qualifying for Rusty. Maybe didn't get any benefit of the tow for his flying lap there, and unfortunately for him, he's all the way down in 9th place with his boss in Robert Sport in 13th. And then unfortunately the Ice Group Racing boys and Devlin and Benjo being caught up in all kinds of mess that they made on the back of the track there in 14th and 15th place.
Yeah,
but we're looking back to the front there. I see Aussie Hypnotic has actually made a move on Lunacy, so Lunacy's lost a position somewhere. In one of his laps, he must have just dropped a wheel, or maybe lost a bit of ground to Aussie. But I will say, Aussie's actually getting himself close to John. So he's actually closing up to John and pulling away from Lunacy. Purple on the last lap there, on lap 4 of 17. Oh my god, I just can't. I'm just looking at that battle pack behind these guys. It's just insane. Just a whole cluster of cars right behind. And I do see, unfortunately, It's Racing is not part of that anymore. He looks like he's dropped down the grid. And there you go. He looks like he's had a bit of a spin. And unfortunately for It's Racing, that looks like to be his race over for race 2 of the TS2 touring cars.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. I'm not too sure if there was probably an incident where he may have got spun or something like that. He's sitting at a 13, 114, 115. So about 10 seconds off the pace. My assumption is he did get possibly spun or escorted wide. I don't know. We'll wait and see what the stewards have to do with that. They'll do a bit of post-race investigation and see how it goes. But Yeah, it's this battle pack back here. This is really nice between these drivers, and it's good to see some close driving. And some people don't know it, but Griffo Tony, 62. That's actually his birth year. So he was born in 1962. So we have Lunacy, who's I believe about 20 odd, and then we've got Griffo Tony here. So I think he's roughly about 61 this year or next year. So. If he's this quick at this age, God help him and see how quick he would have been when he, in his younger years. But hats off to Griffo there for still keeping it with the young lads.
Yeah, well, whether it's his birthday, whether he's had a birthday or his birthday's coming up, he's either 60 or 59 years old. So pretty awesome accomplishment there for Griffo Tony, just putting it up against these young drivers. Obviously, Rusty Nuts ahead of him is not really a young driver as well. He's quite he's up in his 40s as well. He's got himself a partner, got himself a house, got some kids. As we said, nice move. But will Rusty go for the high line? He does, but he's been blocked off nicely by Griffo Tony, and Griffo is able to hold on. But Rusty Nuts has got the perfect move. He got the switch back, and he's just reclaimed 6th place there with Griffo in 7th, and Slapper's right behind his teammate in Griffo in 8th place. But the battle pack is raging on. This battle pack actually with the Nissans are really closing in on the Lexus drivers in Xylon and Budsy, so it'll be interesting to see if the Lexus boys can start to work a little bit more together rather than just fighting each other and get them to extend the gap. As we see Lunacy now got his head down, and after that mistake he made on lap 4 where he lost the position to Aussie Hypnotic, and is able to make some moves and make some progression on getting back 2nd place.
Ooh, goes to make a dive there on Aussie, but he can't really get it done, so I think he may just have to stick in behind him and just wait until we get to the end and pass him on the straight. But yeah, they're doing a pretty solid job, but no one's really taking it to John out front. I think he might be just having a bit of a Saturday drive, getting ready for his top 6 shootout in just over an hour and a half. So it's going to be very interesting tonight with some of these drivers who are in the top 6. But yeah, it's got some good battle packs going on here, and even though it is like a semi-oval, the battle packs are pretty good.
Yeah, the racing's actually really good. It looks like it definitely is a good racing track. As we've lost a driver in that battle pack. Fighting there, I believe we've lost Griffo. So Griffo looks like he's made a mistake there, or coming together with one of his teammates, or with a driver who would have made a mistake just like that. Maybe lost the rear end of his Nissan GTR, but he's all the way down outside the top 10, so that's not what he wanted at all. And Brian not having the best race to date as well, hanging around in 15th and last place with a bit of rear bumper damage. So unlucky for him. But with these guys, they're coming through. Turns 2 on lap 9 of 17. John leading the way. Aussie is really trying to get himself ahead of Lunacy. He's really trying to extend that gap, try and close up John, because looks like he could be a very good contention of racing John towards the end there if he keeps his laps together and John makes one small mistake. Then these 2 cars will be making it a 3-way battle for the lead.
Yeah, definitely. You know as well as I do, you make one little tiny mistake and you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5 cars. I copped that bad into the stick at Daytona. I pulled out of the slipstream to make an overtake, and then I lost 7 positions. So it's one little simple mistake that can kind of make your whole race go from bad to worse. But so far it seems to be doing a pretty solid job. Xylon's having a much better race this time round, so it's good to see him up there in 5th place. But he's soon to have the what would you call it, the pearlescent iridescent paint of slappers in that GDR hounding the back of him. So it's going to be an interesting finish with these guys where they got 7.5.
I did notice there as well. I thought Slappers was going to make a move on Xylon, but he actually bump drafted him. So he wants to work with Xylon to try and catch up to Budsy, and maybe get himself up into 4th place and take out 3rd overall at the end of this race. So I wonder if he's trying to work with Xylon to close up on Budsy, because I did see a bit of a bump draft happening on that previous lap.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a smart play there by Slappers, flash a little bit of the lights and give him a bit of a bump and say, come on boys, we're going up to the front. So it's going to be a very interesting finish, as I said, but Lunacy seems to not made any ground on Aussie here, but they are slowly making ground, but also losing it to John. So maybe we need to get a bit of an SVG card going out for John, because he seems to be a little bit untouchable at the moment in this TS2 series.
Yeah, TS2 is really showing his cards there, and look at that, they're working really well together. Unfortunately, Xylan's gonna, I thought he was gonna lose that position to Slappers on the inside there, but you could definitely see they've worked together. Slappers has worked with Xylan, and he's now gonna make the move on Xylan 96, taking the outside line. Will Xylan be able to be later on the break? Slappers just runs that car a little bit wide, try and get a bit of a switch back, but will he hold the power down to take the inside line? No, he's just gonna tuck right in behind, and he'll maintain 6th place. So like I said, he's done it again. He's working with Xylan, trying to get a bit of a bump draft just to close up the Budsy, because he knows he can get 4th place away from the MSR cars.
Yeah, Slappers is Slappers is a very smart man himself, and he has a lot of racing experience. So I think, yeah, as you said, just working with Xylan here, trying to push up the front, and I know that Xylan would be like, yeah, thanks mate, I need a good result considering my last results. But Slappers looks to have pulled out of the slip here, giving himself a little bit of breathing room from Xylan and try and work together. But they've lost a bit of time here to Budsy. But yeah, it's very bit interesting as Lunacy's closed up on Aussie quite a lot actually.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of cat and mouse between Aussie and Lunacy. Obviously, this is the only close battle pack that we will see for the podium, with Budsy, Xylan and Slappers battling it out for 4th place, and maybe Rusty Nuts will be able to join that battle pack very soon. But these guys will be trying to work together. I wonder if maybe Lunacy is not thinking about making a move just yet. You know, I think he maybe just wants to work with Aussie, just, you know, stay behind him and then maybe make a move on that last lap. But he is closing at a few occasions, and there we go. Slappers is about to make a move on Xylan 96. Does he go for the inside line? He will. But what is the better line around this banking here? Is it the inside or the outside? I believe it looks to be the inside. So Slappers is using that very nicely, and Xylan straight away just pulls out and just like saying, nope, I want to take that 5th place back from you, son. But unfortunately, I think he's just got a little bit of toe from his teammate in Budsy 76 there, helping out Slappers, just try and pulling away from him. But Slappers has made the move. He's up into 5th place, and it's going to be hunting down Budsy for 4th.
Yeah, maybe the Lexus might be a better push car, because we know that. But wow, Budsy really lost a lot of time there through that turn 2. That's a bit weird there. Oh, Budsy runs a little bit wide, just gets that apex on corner exit there.
We can see as well, Slappers has got himself a bit of damage as well. So same with Xylan. So both drivers have a bit of damage on their car.
Yeah, it's racing back up tonight too. Yeah, it looks like, I think that turn 2 is definitely going to be a killer overall with all these drivers. You know, you make one little tiny mistake, you run a little bit deep under brakes, you're gonna hit the wall. But yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate one, but you know, you get them on the big jobs, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly right. As we see Brian closing in on Benjo for the battle for 14th place, so we'll wait and see who gets that at the end of the 17-lap race. But they're on lap 14. John's definitely pulling away. He's really pulling himself at least better. About 3 seconds over Aussie, Hypnotic and Lunacy, and these guys are working really well together to create a really nice battle pack between Aussie and Lunacy and John again. Like you said, being the SVG off the TS2 touring cars, just pulling away, and no one's been able to touch him, and he's just really working wonders in that Nissan GTR. But that battle pack right behind is raging on, and it is very strong with Lunacy in the Lexus versus Aussie in his Nissan GTR. But unfortunately for Aussie, he goes from Nissan to Honda DJ in the main series for WRT, so he won't have that benefit of being in a comfy car, but instead being in more of a slipperier car.
Yeah, I think the Honda isn't necessarily a slippery car if you can tune it properly, but I'm not too sure what Aussie's experience is with tuning. But if you can tune it right, the car isn't slippery. But you know, that's the old thing. You know, you change the tune and it might affect something in one way. But the whole Botnu tune seems to be suiting Aussie well, same as John. But yeah, he's gone from Nissan to Honda. We did obviously run last year that if drivers wanted to change manufacturers in TS2 to match main series, they could, but some drivers this year just, you know, they're having fill-ins, but they seem pretty happy going from car to car at the moment. Oh, Slappers makes a big mistake.
Slappers is off. Big mistake, whether there was contact or Slappers made that all by himself there. He was right up behind Budsy 76. He did make a move on Budsy at the end of that. Whether Budsy's picked up damage on his car doesn't look like he's picked up damage. at all. So whether there was just a little bit of rubbing between the two, or maybe Slappers did that on his own, we're not too sure. We'll find out at the end of the race. But unfortunately for him, it goes from potential 4th all the way down to 7th there. So very unlucky for Slappers. Looking very good to take out an overall 3rd place for this race for the high speed sprint. Lap 16 or 17, so drops down to 17th or 7th place. And unfortunately for him, as we see John still leading the way. Looks like Aussie has actually pulled away a little bit from Lunacy. So Lunacy is definitely making a few mistakes on his end. He's not really able to close up, and he's trying really hard to get that Lexus up towards the front. And unfortunately, it's not working for him. He's only got like 1.5 laps to go, DJs, but I don't think Lunacy is going to be able to make it. Obviously, being the F2 champion, Formula 2 champion that he is, and Lunacy from the Project 1 racing team, I just don't think he's got enough oomph in that Lexus RCF.
What I saw, he made a lot of time on Aussie through 3 and the entry of 4, but on corner exit of 4, he actually lost a considerable amount of time. So whether or not he's running a different line to Aussie through there, but yeah, he seems to be losing a lot of his time through the exit of 4. So a bit unfortunate. You know, you always get to see drivers, their strengths and weaknesses of tracks, but yeah, I guess it's a bit unfortunate there for Lunacy to be losing that time, but you know, that's racing, and that's kind of where experience comes, and working with other drivers and stuff like that. But so far as it stands, it looks like John will get the double podium or the double race win here, and that actually drops Slappers out of the podium contention, I think, for the round.
Yeah, I think that'll be that. I think that 3rd place will be very close between some drivers there. If it's racing makes himself up a few more positions, he might be able to take 3rd place away from Slappers as we look towards It's Racing on the back of Mad Dog. So for the last lap, can It's Racing propel himself up into the top 8? We'll wait and see. But for the final time, DJ, for TS2, no one can touch him. He's unstoppable. Someone give him a heavy car. Someone put some ballast on his car. He needs stopping. But John 27 TCT takes the victory. Aussie holds out Lunacy to put himself in a really good position there. And there's a sprint race between the Nissans and the Lexus, and that'll belong to Solo 96. He just holds off Rusty Nuts there between the MSR and RSR driver. With Mad Dog, a very good performance there, with very flew under the radar there, DJ. He managed to get himself into the top 8. It's a very good drive for Mad Dog on his debut race in the main split of TS2, with It's Racing crossing the line in 9th, Warpath, and rounding himself up into the top 10. A much better race for him. Griffo Tony unfortunately got caught up on a few accidents himself, with Devlin comfortably in 12th place. Unfortunately not going to be able to swap positions with his teammate as he's a little bit too far back, with Benjo 13th place and Robbo and Isuzu Bryan rounding up the 15 drivers this evening.
Yeah, it looks like Robbo made a bit of a mistake there through the end section, and he actually dropped a position to Benjo there, but Bryan also had a big damage there too, so a bit unfortunate, but I guess that's driving for you, and doing consistent laps you tend to make mistakes every now and again. So solid work there from all these drivers, and all the top 5, so they're doing a pretty good job at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing themselves really well, and John's giving himself that perfect opportunity to try and propel the car 95 alongside his team boss in It's Racing to have a potential victory, a potential chance of taking the victory in the Trackstars Trackstars Touring Cars Championship for the High Speed 500. So well done to John, picking up the double win this evening. And now it's going to be time for the top 6 shootout coming up in just under an hour and a half's time. We can't wait to see what our drivers can do. The top 6, who will get pole position? Obviously, you've got a favourite of who you're going to want to get pole position. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see at the end of it. So stay tuned for the live coverage of the Trackstars Touring Cars High Speed Ring 500 top 6 shootout. Who will take pole position for the coveted race that'll be going on 100+ laps around this circuit? So it's going to be very exciting. We can't wait for it. But for our TS2 guys, well done to John for picking up the double win. And on behalf of myself and Spud P666 and DJ alongside me in the commentary box, you can have a lie down, son, and watch your teammate go around the track in the Honda NSX. But for now, and for TS2, we'll see you guys next time.